Welcome to the Better Outcomes podcast, where we discuss all things leadership, sales, and communication in Australian business. At Better Outcomes Training, we provide world-class training solutions for businesses who want to arm their teams with cutting-edge skills to lead better, sell better, and enjoy more success, purpose, and profit from the work they do. For a full breakdown of all the courses we offer, visit www.better-outcomes.com.au. There's also a link in the description. Now, on to today's podcast. Enjoy.
Welcome back, everyone. Another episode of the Better Outcomes Training Podcast. Here with Paul Harrison, dancing away on the other screen that I can see him, trying to put me off, no doubt. Paulie, how are you?
I am absolutely electrifying, cuz absolutely fantastic, mate. Top of the world. Looking forward to a phenomenal week. Busy week, but phenomenal week. And I get to spend some time with yourself and all of our listeners who are developing South African and Kiwi accents right now. All good.
You poor people. It's insidious. It takes a long time to breed out, bro?
Or even worse, a combination.
A combination, yeah. Start putting combos together. Look out. Busy weeks everywhere, mate. I've got a day off today. RDO.
Fantastic.
Oh, I love RDO Mondays. Everyone does. I mean, well, everyone gets them. People who don't get them probably don't like them so much. And
mate, the way you're working, you deserve every RDO you get, man, for real.
Well, some people might think that. Some people may not. But the people we're going to talk about tonight, there's no such thing as an RDO where we're going to talk about tonight. And that's all about being an entrepreneur. Seems to be a pretty hot topic these days, and I understand why. So we're gonna try and bump up against this one a little bit in terms of what it's all about, what the highs and the lows, and what everyone sees the benefits of it, and maybe some hazards and but also stuff like the mindset that you have to have, I reckon, and the skills you need, and even like transitioning from being an employee into an entrepreneur. And by an entrepreneur, I mean, I don't just mean owning your own hoodie company or running your own business or whatever, but I also mean like being a subcontractor.
Sure.
In terms of whether it's graphic design or a trade of some type, or even outsourcing yourself on the weekend if you can do computer work or coding or anything like that, setting up your own little business on the side hustle, all that kind of thing. So that's where we're headed tonight. Now, you are this. I was this for a little while, couple of decades, I suppose, a little while.
Time flies when you're having fun, huh?
Time flies when you're having fun, stressing over everything. Being an entrepreneur, is it all it's cracked up to be, Paulie, or what?
Well, I think, cuz with regards to sort of the definition, I think there'd be a lot of people with different sort of definitions out there. I think that as somebody who's effectively you don't have a boss, although people might say it's you have your clients are your bosses, but effectively you're setting up your own small business and looking to build it moving forward. So if that's the type of definition that we've got, we can work with that. Is it all it's cracked up to be? If you're good at it, I suppose. If you can be successful, otherwise it sucks.
There you go. And that's what you're getting out of us today, folks. Best of luck out there.
I think one of the biggest challenges that entrepreneurs have is effectively getting business coming in the door.
Yes.
So I think marketing and selling, along with the skill set that people have, I think that very often, you might have somebody who is, and actually there was a great book written on this called The E-Myth, and The E-Myth Revisited, and it was by a gentleman by the name of Michael Gerber, I think. And the overview of this was there was a lady who was making cakes or pies or something like that. I forget which one. She was a very good baker. She thought, okay, well, I want to go out and set up my own business. So she set up her own business because, when she was working as a baker, that's what she did. She loved baking. She was making the best pies or the best cakes or whatever they were. And then she started her own small business, what we might call as an entrepreneur in this circumstance. And then she realized she had to get good at all of these other areas of running a business effectively. So you don't have the other departments that you would normally have if you're working as part of a big business. And I think that's the real challenge, particularly in the marketing and selling world, because and negotiating, what we might call the softer skills. And I'll tell you who have real challenges with this is people who might be extraordinarily qualified and very, very good in technical type roles. So that might be, your classic professional skills, even working on the tools and stuff like that. You're a chippy or a sparky, and you're very, very, very good at that. And that's what you do. Or, as a doctor who wants to move into their own private practice, or a accountant or an engineer who wants to go, to run their own thing. And I think the ability to develop those real soft skills, and here's the other thing, really start to be able to establish a degree of credibility in what you do. I think that's a big, big area. And I'll tell you, I see a lot of people taking the step, and maybe it's because I was involved in the professional development and personal development industry for so long, but people moving from classic employment into things like coaching. And you talk to anybody who's made that shift, if they move into sort of life coaching, or, if they've got a particular niche that they focus on, it's, if you ask the question, what would you have liked to have known before you made the jump? And the thing is how important the marketing and selling is. And here's the other kicker is, if I say to you, listen, cuz you're world-class at what you do, you are a world-class chippy, tradie, whatever. Now you have to be able to sell your skills. There is so many challenges that come with that you and I have spoken about, so often. Firstly, thinking I hate selling, or selling is a dirty word, rather than seeing yourself as a world-class problem solver. And then having to face up and deal with people who are trying to beat you up on price. If you don't know how to negotiate well, then effectively you can get people who are trying to diminish, beat down the price that you're quoting. And bearing in mind, that's just the nature of the beast. It's what you're going to be dealing with. You are going to deal with business people who are going to try and, reduce the price you're asking for, because that increases their profit margin. And that's how things happen. But the big problem with that is people can very, very often take it very personally, because it's like, is this all you think I'm worth? Which is like we're talking a couple of weeks ago with regards to salary negotiation, same type of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's some real challenges around that. But if you get business coming in, you love what you do, you have that flexibility, the additional flexibility that comes with it, and that really is cool. And then you can, 1 + 1 is 2. You can learn to paddle your own canoe. So you can start, going into those particular areas there. And again, what were your motivations to make the shift? You start looking, maybe you see a gap in the market where you can really start to fulfill other things. And then you have, if you do it well, you can really then start to create that high degree of alignment between what you do, the value you bring, the price you charge, your marketing, and filling that gap that you can see out there. And then it's a very cool place to be. Again, a lot of it is all on your own shoulders, though, so you have to be mindful of that as well.
That's right. It's all on you. There's you're a one-man band, you're a one-stop shop. You've got to be everything. I love that reference to being a world-class problem solver, because that covers everything. If I had had that back in the day, 20 odd years ago, I would have taken on the world.
It's quite a mindset shift, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very powerful and I like what you said about finding. I've spoken to quite a few people about it when they get into certain positions in their career, where you're in the position now where you can start to look for problems and maybe shortcomings and little gaps in between whatever industry you're in between businesses or clients or whatever, and you'll be able to start seeing common problems.
Absolutely.
And then you'll be able to start putting solutions towards those problems, and that might be your niche area.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that might get you your little start. So there's always something there that you can look for.
Absolutely. And the reality of it is, as well, as the more you can niche your target audience, which again is a big challenge a lot of entrepreneurs don't want to do, because they who's your ideal target audience? Well, the answer often comes back, well, anybody who will pay me what I'm after.
Right, yeah.
But the more you can niche, the more specialized you can become, the more you can use their terminology, your audience's terminology, and people will pay more for something that is more niched, and it's more specific. And that's why this is better than the other one, because this entrepreneur works only in our industry and therefore really understands our industry, and therefore we're going to get much better outcomes there. So there's a lot of challenges with it. A lot of it is around mindset. And again, I know we come back to mindset so often, but also being prepared to invest your time, your effort, your energy into developing these other skill sets,
Yeah, sales and marketing are the big ones. Like you can have the best idea in the world, and you can be the best, the only person in the world that solves that problem. But if nobody knows about you, then they're not going to come knocking on your door, because they don't know about you. Sitting at home, waiting for everyone to come and see you, it just doesn't happen, mate.
Yeah.
You've got to get out there, knock on doors, be annoying, the squeaky wheel gets oiled first, that kind of thing. Get out there and beat your own drum and make sure that people know about you. I mean, as a tradie starting off, I had to say yes to everything. When I first started, I was working flat out. I was overwhelmed, way out of my depth, just struggling to keep up. And just saying yes to everything to build that client base, to start to get recognized and to end up working 7 days a week, all through school holidays, missing time with the kids at the beach, all that kind of thing.
Sure.
Just to get myself established to the point where I could get, when you get to the point you're like, I can get a little fussy now. I don't want to do that job. It's too far away, mate. I've got quite a big client base over here. I can take a day off.
Yeah.
I can miss that job and find something else. There'll be getting to that point's pretty tough. And so the sales and marketing of it. And then the other side is chasing the money, all the admin stuff. Oh, gosh, taxes. Yeah. So some people do it very well. Some people take it all on. Other people, it's a lot easier now. There's a lot more apps out there to help you. If I'm talking about tradies and I'm talking about invoicing and quoting and taxes and BAS statements and all that.
Yep.
There's quite a few apps out there that make it so much easier now.
Absolutely.
Like if I had that back in the day, again, it was all paper, getting your receipt, chuck it in the console of the car, with everything else. And then once a month, you put it in a shoebox and put it in the cupboard and go and take it to the accountant. They pull their hair out, trying to figure out why you've sent them receipts for a packet of smokes, Big M's and chocolates that you bought. I thought it was tax deductible, man. I bought petrol on it. Come on,
Yeah.
So there's all that kind of thing as well. I think a lot of people miss that side of things, miss how important the setup is and all those associated costs. Yeah, there's a lot more to it than just an hourly rate.
Absolutely.
There's a lot
100%.
that is factored in.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I think it's there's so many people who talk so much goodness about this whole about the entrepreneurial world, and it is, if you get it right, it is good.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting. It's like, if you have work that comes to you, then that's cool. That's fine. That's awesome. But it's like, and I think as competition starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger, people are really going to have to improve on how they market and sell, because I think if you can't build that perceived value, you can't answer that question, why should somebody do business with you?
Yeah.
It's a rough go,
Yeah. I think a lot of people think too that entrepreneurship means you're out there all by yourself. But I know so many people who do it as a side hustle. They have a job that they just go there for 8 hours a day. It just pays their bills. And every other waking minute, they are slamming all their time and effort that they can into their side. And usually it's stuff they love.
Yes, okay.
It's their absolute passion. Like you said, it's baking cakes, or it's a good friend of mine, a little bit older than me, him and his partner. His partner, she worked at a community center, and they used to have a little cafeteria there, and she came in and she used to make cakes for everyone when they had their birthday and stuff.
Beautiful.
And the cafeteria manager said, these are delicious. Like, can you make me some and I'll sell them? And so it started off as that. She was making biscuits and cakes and stuff, and they're selling them. And then that morphed into she did farmers markets.
Yeah.
So when they renovated their house, he did the kitchen proper commercial, got it inspected by the council, passed everything. So she started doing the farmers markets and cakes and biscuits. That morphed into coffee vans, and she had a ball. They made an absolute, regardless of how much money they made, she was having so much fun doing what she loved because she was baking.
Yeah.
From home, work on the weekends, cruise during the week. If you can work that out, I think that's the perfect setup. I really do.
Yeah, I do like it. The other aspect as well with the entrepreneurial aspect is you actually have a opportunity to impact how much money you make. Because here's the other thing, again, if you can build, we come back to that price is only an issue in the absence of value or perceived value. If you can add more value, then you can negotiate for more money. I think it's very difficult to, barring your one annual review a year, it's very difficult to negotiate for, two-digit figures on salary increases. It's a very difficult thing to do. But if you're entrepreneurial, and you can be negotiating, and your rate goes up as your book of business gets bigger, then you get that balancing act between where you currently are and what people will pay for you, so then you can make that decision.
That's right. And making that transition from say employee to business owner or sole trader or contractor, however you want to put it. That's a big thing as well. I know I started by doing weekend work, side jobs, decks, pergolas, any little things like that, working for other guys, all my spare time basically. And I think that's how a lot of people need to approach it. They need to approach it in terms of if you're stuck in a bit of a rut and you want to get out and you want to try and do something by yourself, you've got to just sacrifice quite a bit of stuff.
Absolutely.
To get the skills you need. Have a good think about what you want to do, and then put a plan together and start moving towards it. Like you said, sales and marketing, they're a big thing. A lot of admin work to go on. What are the setup costs? And can you do it all yourself? Are you going to outsource some of it? Are you going to get some third party to do this and all that kind of thing as well? And then just start finding that time. Every little bit you can cram in, work towards it. Yeah. What do you reckon?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think something that's so important there as well, mate, is to be able to get a group of people around you who are kind of moving in the same direction. I think that's absolutely crucial, particularly for people who are coming up. And what I mean by that is, I've obviously in the UK, I did had small businesses there and worked with a lot of entrepreneurs as well, which was helpful. But GCM on, very often my whole thought process with regards to setting up a small business, moving it forward, how successful it is, it's kind of like the equation of, I don't know, there's some place in the world, I don't know where it is, but where turtles lay their eggs on the beach. And then there's like that when the eggs hatch, and then the little turtles have like that hell run down to the water. And it starts out, they get out of the sand, and then they got to walk down. That's my turtle impression. They walk down, and that's when they've got to watch for the seagulls coming in to take them. And then they get to the water, and then they've got to watch out for the small fish, I think. And then they get to the deeper water, and then they've got to watch out for the sharks. And once they're at the deepest water, then they're okay. And it kind of reminded me of that's like a lot of the time the journey of the entrepreneur, particularly in highly competitive marketplaces. Because it's like, how do you actually get through all of those challenges? Because there's so many challenges, and so much of it is, there's one side of your brain which is saying you're going through so much hell and you're having to learn all this new stuff. And then you look at, people like whoever your entrepreneurial inspiration is, whether it's Jobs or Musk or Oprah or Tony Robbins or, whoever. And you think, you read their books and they have ups and downs as well. And And then you think, you know, if I want to make it, I can't quit, and quitters never win and winners never quit, and that type of thing. And then you start thinking, yeah, well, what about, you know, you read these stories, and if you just keep going, you're going to get there. But you never hear the stories of the people who failed. You know, it's like,
right. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it's gut check time sometimes, man. I'll tell you, I did it in the UK and here, without any dependence, without anybody depending on me. So if I messed up, it wasn't sort of that my children weren't going to eat or have a place to stay or anything like that, because I didn't have any responsibilities like that.
Yeah.
I fully get why people are intimidated by starting out their own type of thing, because there's too much to risk. There's a hell of a lot to risk there, you know, and it's so difficult to get right. Yeah. And if you're trying to build a business and you've got a relationship, you've got to build on, obviously keep working at your relationships. You've got a family to raise. I get it. But then the other side is how reliable is a job? You know, that's the other thing.
That's right. I think we've talked about this briefly in the past about how COVID showed a lot of people how exactly how valuable they were to certain companies in terms of, you're just a number, see you later, you know. So I think that's where the drive's been, and the want to work for yourself. And you know, the beautiful part about, once you've done all the hard work and you've got through and you've got this client base, you can start to see the little gaps in your program. You can start to see, hey, listen, I'm going to take a long weekend here. I can, you know, you can start to reap the benefits and the flex. I think one of the best things about being your own boss, in whichever way you want to describe it, is the flexibility you can give to yourself.
Yeah.
Once you've kind of made it, or you've settled and, you know, you've kind of plateaued before you go to the next thing, you can work in that flexi time. You can start to get back the stuff you enjoy, and you can get the you can get some of the time back that you sacrificed. Especially, like you said, if you've got dependents, if you've got partner or wife and kids or whatever, it sometimes they have a real strain on those relationships when you're starting out. So when you get it right, if you're fortunate enough to get it right, and a lot of the time it means just not stopping, you know, the hard stuff means less people are doing that. So once you get past those hard things, it's like, well, a lot of people have stopped there. You know, there's a lot of bones on that path of people who didn't make it. So and that's one of the bonuses of, I think, of entrepreneurship. Apart from I guess everyone sees it as money, you know, the financial rewards of being your own boss and all that. I think one of the good ones is freedom, flexibility, and the time, and that's what I liked about it. That's what I really liked about it.
Here's something else to think about, Cuz, and I was thinking about this weekend, actually. You know what, when you look at people who have quote unquote made it, and I don't know whether we ever make it, because there's always, you know, you get to the top of one mountain, there's always another mountain. I don't think we ever make it. My experiences anyway, I don't think you ever have a time where you sit down and you go, now I'm at a place of happiness. There's always a new challenge, I think, to take on. There's always something new that you want to take on, and I think that's part of a healthy situation, whether it's business related or not. But here's the thoughts. It's not what you achieve, it's who you become. Yeah. What do you reckon by that? And what I mean by that is, you look at somebody like billionaires, are great examples of this, because we are talking about business here, obviously. Billionaires, how many millionaires lost it all and then went on to become billionaires? Okay, because it's who they actually become. It's not what they achieve, it's who they become. And I think a lot of the time, those skill sets and that resiliency that people develop to get to that point, and the ability to communicate and the ability to influence and persuade and the ability to do this, that, and the next thing. But I think that's a skill set that stays with people. So it's who you become that can then generate those particular outcomes. So if you lose it all, it's like you got that peace of mind that as long as you're still sort of mentally capable or what have you, you know, sort of you don't sort of have mental trauma or traumatic stuff where you can't think clearly and stuff like that, then effectively you're that person that can rebuild it again, because it's that process, you know, it's that process.
Yeah, it is. You've said it to me, like, once you learn something or once you know something, you can never go back. You can't unlearn it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So that, and like you said, if you battle away for whatever it is and you get to your goal and your destination, you're like, oh well, this is it. I'm going to stop and rest here.
Yeah.
Are you? Like, you're not that same person that had
Yeah.
the dream to get there. You've grown and developed and got all these new skills and copped a lot of hidings along the way and ups
Yeah.
and downs, and you did it. You're a completely different person when you get there. You look back at the person who made that dream and you go, I'm not like that person anymore.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
that. Now I
Absolutely.
want to do that. I want
Yeah.
to go again. And failing as an entrepreneur, it's not the end of the world because you've already moved on. You've already moved down that path and you've got to a point, all right, that one didn't work out. Geez, it can go that way. Maybe something over there. You
Yeah.
know, okay, so you go back and you get another 9 to 5 job or whatever, and you settle for a little bit, but you'll still have that itch. You've grown as a person from there. You've learned, you've developed, you've got those skill sets. Go again. I big believer in that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would agree with you on that. Here's another question, Cuz, and I'd like to get your clarification, your thought process on that term that you used, which is failure. You said, so what if you fail as an entrepreneur? How are you defining that word failure? Because, well, that's part. Firstly, second thing is, do you think that has a big impact on how people perceive taking that step?
Oh, of course, failure is a big thing. It's always the what if.
So,
You
how are
know,
you defining failure then?
failure could be well. If I'm sitting here as an employee now and I want to go out and start my own business as a tradie, um, if I'm going to go and do it tomorrow, what if I haven't got any clients? Fail. I've got no money. Bang, done. Or I've got a business deal that doesn't come through. I can't complete the project on time. I don't get paid properly. The business doesn't take off as I planned it.
Yeah.
Maybe you've got, maybe this would be a big one is you're setting something up and all of a sudden you hit a hurdle or you hit a problem that you haven't seen and you've put in all this work into it.
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh, this product's already been done. Or oh, it's not going to work. And your heart sinks. I've had that a couple of times when you go through it, you're working something out in a reno and you get partway through and then you just get this realization, oh, I forgot to allow for the plumbing, or I forgot to allow for, oh no, and your heart sinks and you look back and then you've got all this work that you've done and you've got to throw it all away because you've made a mistake. So,
Okay. So, how would you then define the difference between failure in an example and making a mistake or slipping? What do you reckon?
it's nearly all the same thing.
I know I'm putting you on the spot here,
Yeah.
and there's a reason for this.
People would nearly define that as the same thing, wouldn't they? They'd see a little mistake or
Yeah.
a stuff up as failure and huge, and really it's not. It can be just a little hurdle to overcome, and
Absolutely.
it's unknown stuff. It's impossible for you to know if it's something you haven't done before. It's impossible for you to know all the outcomes, all the
Yeah.
pitfalls, all the little problems, all the angles. So maybe failure in a lot of people's eyes is small things that are easily overcome when you get there, but massive hurdles in your mind.
Yes. How about we redefine failure? Because I'll tell you this, man. There are so many clients who want to achieve better things, but they're not even getting started because they've lost that game mentally already, and they are terrified of failure. And I think human beings, we are all terrified of that term failure, I think, to a certain degree. And I think the reason for that is that effectively we all want to be seen as some degree of worth. And if you believe in sort of, a DNA having memory and stuff like that, there's, argument that if we're not part of a tribe or a group or something like that, then we have a real problem with survival and that type of situation.
Yes.
And I think that if we fail at something, we believe on some level that it's that lessons are value. I think that's what I observe. And because of that fear, I think that stops a lot of people from taking action. So it's something I deal with my clients. And here's a reframe that I use. And my brother, please, and for anybody listening to this, please, I really hope this helps you if it's something that you're battling with. I like to define the term failure as the following. Failure is when you give up on something that's still important to you. Failure, in my books, is when you give up on something consciously or subconsciously that's still important to you. I'll make mistakes all day long. But if I tap that mat because I've failed in something, I've given up on something that's still important to me. And I think that's a beautiful way of looking at it, because if I think that failure is giving up on something that's still important to me, I can't fail. I'm going to make mistakes. My goals are going to change. So to your point, instead of going in that direction, I'm going to go in that direction. But that's an evolution. We know that's going to happen, because anything we try there's going to be something new. But if I can think about it, that giving up or failing is giving up on something that's still important to me, then I'll never give up. I won't give up, because it'll haunt me. I know that regret will haunt me so much. It's effectively thinking about, that's still something that's important to me, but I'm giving up. That to me is failure. And that means that effectively it's near on impossible from that definition for me to fail, because it's like, if I just get too disheartened, I lose too much, I'm too tired. Listen, take some time out if you need to, but you need to come back to this. If it's still important to you, come back to this. And I think that's a beautiful way of looking at failure, because I know I won't tap out. Well, that's a stupid analogy based on what we do on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. But I know that I'll never give up on something that's still important to me. I'll take breaks. I'll make mistakes. I'll slip. But if I have a choice, I'm still going to make that choice to go forward. And maybe I go forward slower. Maybe I go back to a full-time job and I only get to work on this passion project 1 hour a week or something like that. But I'm not giving up. Because that to me, I think, is failure. Looking in the mirror and saying, you could have done better. You could have done better. And there's still time. If there's air in your lungs, there's still time, and I think that's so important, because that removes reduces that aspect of fear. Yeah, you're going to look stupid, but you're going to make mistakes. You're going to slip, and all the stuff's going to happen. But, in whose eyes? If you're looking stupid, you made a mistake, by somebody standing on the sideline who's not even part of the game. They're not going to be at your funeral, so why would you care about their opinion? And they're not trying to get to where you want to go, so their credibility is not there. But I think, again, I know we give a lot of power to these things.
I love that. I love that idea of that way of looking at it, that frame of looking at it, because the best way to learn is through making mistakes.
Yeah.
Big and small. Every day is a school day. You learn, and the only way to learn is get out there and put yourself to the test and bump up against these things, making mistakes. But then, like you said, as long as you're not giving up and throwing it away, if it's something you really love or you're really interested in, you can't lose. You learn, come back, go again. Good. See, that's the whole mindset thing, isn't it? That's the kind of mindset you need as an entrepreneur. You've got to have play the long game, so to speak, as opposed to, just, we'll give this a crack for a couple of weeks, and if it doesn't work, well, it was never going to be. So there's quite a bit there. There's the whole no days off, that whole mindset thing. No days off, can't fail. I think the other kind of skills you need to think about as well is, like you said, sales, marketing, they're big ones. Communication, all about what you are and who you're going to be, and you've got to talk to your clients. Then you've got stuff like hiring and firing, who you've got to show a fair bit of leadership as well, because of the other companies that you're going to have to work with, clients and things like that. What other kind of skills do you reckon, base skills, you're going to need, or at least like soft skills you're going to try and need to develop if you're going to get out there on your own?
Yeah, hiring and firing is going to be a part, and that's such a difficult thing to get right as well. I mean, if you go and if you speak to recruitment consultants with regards to what percentage of time do they get it right, their numbers can vary. If you talk to employers who employ HR departments or what have you, they've got some interesting numbers as well that vary a fair amount. But I think a good understanding of numbers. So what your numbers look like, what's going on, what's your income, your outgoings, understanding the difference between a an asset, a liability, the numerical stuff there and what's going on behind that. Of course, a lot of people have accountants, but they have to have an understanding of what's going on. I mean, I'll tell you this: I nearly had to pay an additional. What would that have been? About an additional $4,000 in a quarter, based on a accountancy software error that the accountant said, "Listen, this is what you need to pay." And it's like, I can't. No, I looked at it and I said, that seems like a lot of money, man. It seems like a lot of money. Went back and checked, and it was partly my fault because I'd entered information incorrectly on some of the software. But it was an operating mistake that I'd made, and I'd entered something in wrong, and it was my responsibility. But that effectively was going to be a significant amount of additional money I was going to have to pay out. And thank goodness I picked it up. Otherwise, there's going to be some significant money out of my pocket that didn't need to go out of my pocket. So yes. I think that is going to be important.
With the hiring and firing thing, I heard it put really well a couple of weeks ago, where it's very hard to get the hiring right. You've got to become good at firing people.
Wow. Okay, talk to us more about that.
Well, I think the theory is that you can get the perfect person on paper or an interview.
Yeah.
But then they just don't gel with, some people just don't get along. Some people just don't get along with others, and it's just the way it is. We've spoken about this at length.
Yes. Yeah.
And you've got personalities and egos and characters and all sorts of different things that you've got to try and manage.
Yeah.
But some people just don't get along well, or they're just not the right fit. Maybe they weren't up to date on what you needed them with. So it's not so much about the hiring. Very difficult to hire the right person, as you've touched on. You got to get good at firing them. So
that rings really true. Tough. Yeah, that rings true. I mean, I think there's a saying with regards to hire slow, fire fast. Because if you've got somebody on your team that's just destroying morale, it's not a good situation. Especially
if the really skillful person and really integral to the company, you've got to, it's tough decisions.
Yes, absolutely. You've got a high performer that's not working well with other people. It's actually interesting. I think I made some mention of this, but I have a phenomenal client, beautiful client, just on every level, who employs a fantastic subject matter expert. And he literally is brilliant. I mean, this guy is just, he talks about things and it hurts my brain. Okay, I mean, he's absolutely brilliant.
I live there, by the way. I live there.
But he's technically brilliant. But does this guy come off as disagreeable in his communication? My goodness. So she said to me, listen, she goes, Paul, listen, can you do some coaching with this guy? Because he's technically brilliant and I want to keep him. But the way he communicates with people is just absolutely terrible. So we had a sit down conversation, which was fascinating to say the least. It was he and we had a face-to-face catch up, and I went back, I spoke to her afterwards, and I said, listen, this guy's he is absolutely brilliant, but I've got to agree with you, he's very disagreeable. But we did some coaching work, and he became very open to working on his communication style. So really allowing me to teach him about influence, persuasion, and that sort of was a story that had a happy ending. But he was highly disagreeable. But, I mean, just like, sometimes you think things that you don't say, because we get along to go. Of course. This guy would just say it. This is like, and it was just like stone faced.
Oh, no.
I said, I think he said to me the one time, he looked at me, he goes, "You've put on weight, haven't you?"
Oh my gosh. Yeah, thank you.
And I think I had, so it was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, right, fair enough.
Oh, goodness.
Tough call, that one.
Yeah.
Oh, true.
But no, he and so yeah, he's technically absolutely brilliant. But now show bless, he's really taken on the communication skills well. And here's the beautiful part. I tell people that no one ever walks away unscathed from a confrontation, particularly a work confrontation or anything like that. I mean, if you have a blow up with somebody at work, even if you said the cutting words or what have you, you still walk away. And firstly, that your reputation gets worse. But also, here's the other thing: your body takes on that stress. It's stress because you think about that conflict. We don't just put it behind us. I'm convinced of this. You carry scars from it, and scars is probably a strong word, but there's nobody who's Teflon when it comes to that type of situation. It does hit you in some angle. And he was saying to me that now with his new communication skills, he's having less stress, which is beautiful, because he's not having bust ups with people on the regular. Yeah. So he's got a promotion now as well, which is awesome, because we combined that brilliant technical ability with the ability to communicate really well, and that's awesome. It really is. And I think if you're able to communicate better with people, then you carry less stress, which is great.
Absolutely. That's always been my plan of attack,
Yeah.
It always works well. But there's something you touched on that I think is important for entrepreneurs as well, that you wear so many hats in the business.
Yeah.
You wear so many different hats. I think it's very important that you've got to have very good time management skills.
Yeah.
And I also think that it's like today. A perfect example. A lot of things weigh on you if you don't get them done. I know this. I've been working flat out. It ends up with a lot of stuff, all the little bits and pieces that just aren't important, and I put them aside and do them one day, which was today for me. And the last day I had off, which, seems like an eternity ago, there was 2 or 3 things that I missed, and it's been two weeks since I've had a day off.
Yeah.
And those things have weighed on me all the way through, because I know, I've got to come back to that. It just keeps in your mind. You just carry that little thing.
Yeah.
So today I knocked out a whole heap of stuff, and it's quite refreshing. It gets that load off. It gets, thank God, because that's been weighing on me. That's been, I've got to do this, and I've got to do that, and I've got to ring this bloke, and I've got to sort out this bill, and blah, 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 blah. The more you can, especially as a small business owner or entrepreneur, sole trader, you've got so much going on. Being able to find the time to knock out all those little things, and especially the stuff you don't want to,
Yeah.
Tradies, well, we don't do well on being very stereotypical here, but we tend not to do so well with the business side of things, in terms of marketing, in terms of all the admin work, in terms of your tax, and keeping all that kind of thing under control. I think there's some stat that says something like 8 or 7 or 8 out of every 10 new businesses that start fail. They go bankrupt because they can't manage their finances. And it's a massive part. I don't know why it's not taught more in school. I really don't. They should have, one of the things I reckon should be, a couple of things I reckon should be taught in school. Number one is public speaking. I think that's the benefits of getting up there being a public speaker are huge.
Yeah.
But secondly, and most importantly to me, is finance and money matters. And there was a time when there was a lot of builders going out of business. There was a lot of builders going bankrupt, and it was especially around the time that GST came in. So you're talking around the year 2000 when GST came in, was introduced here, because it was so much harder to sort out and figure out what you had to pay and what was exempt and what wasn't. It was, really doing a lot of people's heads in. And to get your mind around that as a trainer, whether you are going to outsource that or use an app now that they've got or something, I think that's very important to be able to do. It's still something you've got to keep an eye on. Like you said, one little small error, and if you didn't pick that up before it went off to the accountant, whew, and that's all it takes in a quote as well, or an invoice or something like that. And it's just hassles you don't need. So it's the little things. If you can try and you need to be able to put away time to sit there and dedicate to doing that kind of stuff as well, and not put it off for too long, because it really weighs on you.
Yeah.
Those admin days, I know.
Absolutely.
I heard it in your voice. Hey, Paulie, what are you up to today? Oh, I've got admin day. And you go from being, how are you, Paulie? I'm electrifying. I'm good. What are you doing today? It's like you got an instant hangover.
God forbid. God
Just
forbid.
to sharpen my crayons and my cat. So, that stuff. I don't think people see that side of things as well. So you've got to, like, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. I used to quote jobs. So I used to quote jobs and do timber lists and takeoffs in front of the rugby. I used to wait until the rugby was on and put the plans on front of me.
Sure.
Some beers, some water, because you know, got to pay attention to this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Work through it. And we was like, we'll just add a couple more on there, be all right. So whatever it takes, however you can get your mind around it to do it is how, but finding that time to get everything done.
Yeah, and I think very often if you can block it out in your calendar, then it's more inclined to be done. Otherwise, it can just become sort of something to be done,
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm keen to ask you a question. You made a comment a little bit earlier, and I think this is very, very, very valuable, particularly in the world of training, in the world of development, in the world of being a world-class problem solver, in the world of entrepreneurialism or sole trader or building your own business. You said making mistakes is one of the best teachers, something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my question to you. Why is that so? Why do people learn better by their own mistakes rather than learning from a book or learning from somebody else's situation? What do you reckon?
Quite simple. You've had a go. You've had a go at it. You can sit there and no, this isn't for everyone. I can read everything, or I can YouTube or study up on whatever it is I want to do. And there's a plethora of information out there now on every subject.
Yeah.
But until I get out and get hands-on, that teaches me more. Getting my mind active, getting it going, especially, and I'm talking trade-based here. I say, my wife today, she said, I want you to build me a picture frame for a canvas to stretch it over on a board. I don't know.
Yeah.
A couple of quick YouTube videos and go out to Bunnings and have a look and, okay, we'll do it like this, get my mind around it. I'll probably stuff the first one up and you have to go and get the stuff again. But it's you've had a go. You've, like the man in the arena, you've got out there, you've had a go. You've got hands-on experience of, hey, that worked, or, that's why it's failed. You can see it live firsthand. And experiencing something is a better teacher than just reading something or something like that. In my books, putting it into practice is where. So therefore, putting something into practice and making a mistake, I believe, teaches you more about it. That's where I come in.
I like that. I really like that. I'll tell you something else I was thinking about. With the work, obviously with the business work that we do, that I do, and we do obviously better outcomes as well. It's always about how do I firstly help clients get better outcomes. That's it. It's like, if you're only achieving 50% of quota every month, how do I get you to 75 and hopefully 100% of quota every month? That's my focus. Now, and I've seen this for a while, and I'm going to continue thinking about this and working with this, and I think this will play out, and I think it'll pay dividends. But there is a world of difference between desire for an outcome and achieving the outcome. Okay, so if you want to get 100% of quota, you're only doing 50% of the quota. You can desire that 50% or 100% increase and achieve your 100% of quota. But how do you get people there? Now, there is the term I use, which is information exchange versus behavioral change. And if I want to get someone to get a better outcome, I firstly have to start changing what they're doing, okay? And that very often is going to come down to mindset, because you can have 5 people who all trained exactly the same thing in strategies, techniques, understandings, but the way they think dictates what they do. And this ties in a lot with confidence and all of these different things. And I can stand there and I can say to people, okay, you need to go and do A, B, and C. Some will do A, B, and C. Some won't do A, B, and C. Some will do A, B, and C really, really well. Some will do A, B, and C, but they won't do it really, really well. If we're looking to create behavioral change, not just information exchange, I believe there's something more than just giving people information. I really do. Because you could read a book on how to make $1 million. And it's like, okay, you know what to do, but how are you going to go and do it? Now, here's the thing. Thinking about how do I take somebody from what they're doing right now to where they want to be? Because I see myself very much as that, as somebody who will, who will be involved in ferrying them from one point to the other. You know who Sharon is? Sharon?
You mean Sharon?
Not Sharon. The Sharon Chevron, the ferryman of the River Styx. You know?
Oh yeah. I had dinner with him last week, man.
Okay, now I know your communication is, but effectively, how do we get somebody from where they currently are to where they want to be? And I think there's a concept out there that people believe, just tell me what to do. And I believe that is very, very ineffective. And I think that's why a lot of people who go to training, if they're not trained in the right way, they're not going to get the return. Now, if we're going to change human behavior, and let's take habits as an example here. Let's take habits, because we're looking to change what people do on the regular.
Yes.
If I want to, let's say somebody is overeating. Okay, this is something I battled with a lot. Emotional eating was a big thing, and obviously I did drinking as well, emotional drinking and stuff like that.
Right here, poster child.
That's a challenge that we had, and it's something that effectively, it's not the right thing to do, but very often I think that we are not consciously aware of it until we're halfway through a packet of Doritos or what have you. Yeah. But secondly, it's like, well, I know it's not the right thing to do, but I just do it. Now, there is something I believe, and I've witnessed this with people make complete changes in things like smoking, overeating, drinking too much as well, other addictions that we could potentially get into. And something that shifts that behavior, because I've got to figure out how to shift that behavior. One of the aspects is what I would refer to as a significant emotional experience. And that significant emotional experience is, let's say that I am a 45-year-old father of 2 kids, 3 kids, or what have you, okay? And I'm overeating or I'm drinking too much or what have you. And the doctor says to me, listen, you got a problem here. You weigh X amount of weight. You need to cut down. Otherwise, you're not going to be around in the next 5 years. Now, being told that by somebody who's highly credible, which I'm hoping everybody would see their doctors as pretty credible, that can create in that person's mind a thought process with regards to, my goodness, I've got 5 years. I'm not going to be able to see my kids grow. I'm not going to be able to walk my daughters down the aisle, walk my, whatever have you. I'm not going to be able to grow old with my partner, my wife, or what have you. And that significant emotional experience creates a huge amount of pain in the individual in that moment. And I've seen people make significant emotional changes and actually stop that behavior. Now, sometimes it's been for a short term, sometimes it's been for a longer term, but I think that significant emotional experience very often can shift how people see themselves. Now, how does this apply to training? Well, firstly, how does this apply to getting hands-on and actually making that mistake? I think that when you actually do it, you make that mistake, you feel that significant emotional experience. Now, it's not ethical to go out and give people those significantly painful emotional experiences, but I have seen it change personalities very, very quickly. So effectively, what we have to start doing is I need to be able to start reframing how people think around certain things and obviously creating those motivating factors. But when you're actually out in the arena, to use your term, when you're actually out in the arena, that's when you have those emotional experiences. You have the highs of the win if you get the results. You have the lows of making that mistake, particularly when everybody else is watching as well. And I think that can be a massive teacher with regards to, like growing up, my mother said to me, don't touch the stove. It's hot. It's like, okay, Mom. So right. She walks out. What was that? Nothing, and I'm sucking my finger, okay? but you know you're never going to do that again, because that's a significant emotional experience, okay?
Yes, correct.
And it's fascinating with regards to understanding how you shift human behavior to help somebody get those better outcomes. And I think that's a big aspect of teaching, or not or teaching to some degree, but also people getting the lesson. You know, there's talk about, I saw somebody the other day, learn the lessons by my scars. It's like, okay,
that's not going to work.
Well, you would hope it would. But I think a lot of the time people have to go through those learning experiences to think, you know what, I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be very open to learning. And I think that's, you know, I don't think we get to enjoy the beautiful views of that mountain you've climbed without scraping your knees a couple of times, you know, without bumping your head a few times.
Absolutely. And that's, you should wear those scars, as you call them, as a badge of honor. You know, like not everyone can make, not everyone gets the ability to learn from mistakes on the road you travel. The way you talked about it, though, and the way you teach and the way you coach, you try to implement those changes and you put them in context as well, which is a game changer. Like if when you're teaching someone something for the first time, you have to be very careful because they don't know how to do it any other way.
Yeah.
So you got to be very careful with that. And you have the ability, and I'm sure a lot of us have the ability, if you're teaching someone how to do something and you're teaching from experience and you're getting taught something from experience, it's can be the difference between winning or losing. So you do that very well. And it makes all the difference, especially for people who like myself, who are going somewhere unknown. So it does help. But getting out there and doing it, I think, is one of the best ways to learn.
Yeah.
Falling off the horse, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, get back on, mate, have another crack.
Absolutely. And something I think that infects this entrepreneurial sole trader aspiring to be the next Elon Musk type of situation. I think that one of the aspects that's a real challenge is people always preparing. And what I mean by that is they want another book to read. They want to go to another conference. Because you read these books. And I think on some level, we believe that is building something for us, and it certainly can be, but there's no equivalent of getting out and actually doing it, you know?
Precisely. Yep.
And you can go to these seminars and you can get pumped up, and there's a term that people have for people in those situations, which is seminar junkies, you know, and you can go there and you can associate with these people and put it all on your social media and stuff like that, which is awesome. Absolutely awesome. But unless you're out in the arena, we're just buying ourselves time, you know. We're not buying time, we're effectively wasting time, you know.
That's it. That's where I got to. But you teaching me sales and learned so much about it. I spent a couple of years now, going around and going back over the books and everything. And I realized a few months ago I can't learn anymore. I mean, I can effectively sit here for the rest of my life and learn about sales, but I'm going to learn so much more by getting in there and experiencing it.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. And I think, ongoing professional development, I think, is important. And the one thing I do take from it now, even getting through this weekend was 2 different books I got through, you know, just listening to audiobooks, listening at 1.5. And, one was about the Peloponnesian War, which was Sparta versus Athens and Boeotia and all of the rest of them.
So audiobooks on a weekend?
Yeah.
I'm lucky to get through like one book every 2 weeks. No. My ears must be slower than yours. Oh, I've got the thumbs up going. Hang on. I must have slow ears or something. These big bad boys mustn't be working too. Must just go in and out, yeah?
Yeah, listen, they can be on a Saturday and a Sunday, they can be 8 hours each day where I'm busy, but my ears aren't busy. So whether that's going out for a walk, whether it is going for a drive, whether it is in the gym, what have you. But the benefit I get from that is very often you start finding the same principles that come up in any degree of success, but they get framed up in different contexts, which I think is so powerful. And it's, I'll tell you, because every single time I work with clients, and maybe I've got 15 people in the room, I asked each person what specifically they want to take away. So there's 4 things I want from each person at the beginning of the training: who they are, what they do, something unique / fun / quirky about them, and then what they want to take away specifically from the training. And the reason I do that is because, firstly, it's a little bit of an engagement from their point of view. They're getting a little bit more active. And if I have active people, they're going to take better learning. They're going to take better outcomes there. But the second thing is I get an idea of their context, particularly their interests and, the particular problems they're after. And then obviously I ask further questions around what they want to take away, because very often they'll talk to me about something at surface level, which is often driven by something deeper, which I think we've probably spoken about a few times. But it gives me a real idea of their contexts. And what I mean by that is what type of terminology they're using, how they're thinking, what are the challenges they're dealing with, what's the subtext behind their words, whether they have a particular sport or they love cats or they love dogs or, whatever it is. And the beautiful aspect of that is being able to relay your learnings back in their contexts. And when you can do that, you see these beautiful moments, man. It's one of the happiest aspects of the work I do is you can see when people get it, when it's like you put it in a way where somebody goes, oh my goodness, now I can see. It's like that aha moment.
The light comes on.
Yep. Oh man, it's so beautiful. And people, they won't all have the same aha moment at the same moment. So it's every, maybe every 15 minutes, I want at least one person having an aha moment. You can see it sometimes. There's like involuntary reactions. It's like pupils dilating or, nostrils flare or just they sit in their seat or there's something like that. But it's a little breakthrough. And it's so beautiful to be able to see that because then that people won't go back to that old way of thinking. It's like, okay, I can use this. They can see it in their context. They can see that challenge. I can tell them a story that will link into that. It's a beautiful reframe. It really, really is. And what their motivations are. Because if I can understand their motivations, I can align those motivations with the particular outcomes they're after. And then people become unstoppable. They really do.
You spoke about it earlier, about surrounding yourself, starting out as an entrepreneur, being able to surround yourself with like-minded people who have already done it, who are a little bit further up the chain. And that's a brilliant way of looking at it. I had a teacher at school, I think I've spoken about it, who said to me, if you're trying to learn something new, get as many points of view on it from as many experts as you can or people who are doing well. And because that'll give you a more rounded view of what you're trying to do. And I found the same thing. I'm reading a lot of sales books, for example, probably a dozen or so at this stage. And it's all kind of based around the same kind of topics. And they're all coming at it with their own slight frame, their own different point of view, their own way of, they're put into context a bit different, and they're a bit more critical of this and a bit less of that. And it really gives you a more rounded view. And like you said, sometimes you just, oh, wow, now I get it. Hello, where was this all my life? So that's probably my hot tip is, if you want to get into being an entrepreneur, whatever industry, do a fair bit of research first. See who you can talk to and get out there. And because you'll never cop criticism from people who are doing better than you. You
absolutely.
Never will.
Absolutely. Just on that point as well, Kaz, think about if you, and this is just to go along with what you've just said there, which I think is some great guidance. But if you want to engage with people who are where you want to be, don't say to them, can I buy you a coffee? Make it worth their while, particularly if they don't know you. If you get you send them an inbox message saying, hi, I've seen your posts. I like your this or that. The next thing, could I take a couple of hours of your time and I'll buy you a coffee? It's like, make it appealing for the individual. It's like, think of a way as to how they're going to benefit as well. Because whilst we would all like to believe in a world where, people are always contributing, to each other, that's an ideal situation. But the fact of the matter is those people that you aspire to be like, they're busy people and therefore their time is valuable. If their time wasn't valuable, then they wouldn't, they wouldn't
be aspiring to be them.
They wouldn't be inspired. Yeah. So make it worth their while. And for any people working in selling, if you're doing lead generation and stuff like that and you want to prospect, don't invite to take them out just so you can tell them about your product or service, because you're not going to get a response. If you do, it's going to be a no. So make it worth their while. And how you phrase these things up obviously is going to be important as well. So yeah, a lot of people don't think of it like that. They don't think about, how can I influence and persuade this person I want to go and catch up with? How can they benefit?
Yeah.
So if you can answer that and you get it right, you're going to get a lot more yeses than nos.
I've heard a few stories along those lines, and I think it was Hormozy. I think it was either Charlie Munger or Warren Buffett talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think they went for their first job and they didn't know anything, and they said, "I'll work for you for free."
Yeah.
And the guy said, "Mate, you're too expensive. It's free, like, because you don't know anything. You know, you're going to be to put it bluntly, you're going to be a burden on me. I have to stop and teach you everything. And, you know, what can you do? You can make me coffee. Wow. You know, you're going to slow me down for the rest of the day." So without trying to sound like, you know, we're all that, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
Offering someone a coffee for a couple of hours of their time, probably, even though at the price of coffee these days, we're not going to cut it.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
you're absolutely right. Well, hopefully that's either put some people off or put some people right on. A few hopefully tips and tricks there. We actually stayed on topic quite well.
Mate, you are becoming world class as a host. Absolutely keeping us on topic. Just a quick point there, though. We don't specialize in tips and tricks, mate. We work with strategies, techniques, and understandings. Okay, lifelong lessons. All right.
Oh, it's about the third or fourth time I walked into that one.
Tips and tricks. They're short-term, superficial band-aids. Let's talk about strategies, techniques, and understandings.
Strategies. I can't even spell the last two. I'll have to rewind this and edit it up, make it into a little meme for me for the wall. Paulie, as always, your insights are invaluable. This is the reason why I wanted to start this podcast, just to get you out there and to get you helping, because I know you love helping people and getting them these better outcomes that you desire for them. So this is why I wanted the podcast up, to get you out there to help these people. And yeah, you're doing a great job of it, my man. Thank you.
That's very kind of you, mate. And it's I couldn't do it without you. You know, your insights, particularly with regards to the journey you're on right now, I think is absolutely invaluable. You know, because it's like it's really what I think a lot of people listening to this might be considering. So you're a lot closer to the you know, to as you're going through this journey that you're going through at the moment. Yeah, I think it works out well. I think it gives a good balance and hopefully some value to the audience.
Yeah, I don't think I appreciate that very much. It's hard to see sometimes. It's just, you know, the daily grind, the daily battle. And you stand back and have a look. It's like, oh, yeah, maybe I do that. Maybe I do have that kind of value. So, yeah.
Bro, look back over the last 2 years, man, where this journey started, where it is at the moment, and, you know, what the future looks like. I think that you can give yourself a little bit more credit than that, you know?
It's exciting. Yeah, I'm ready to go, man. I'm ready. If this rib would stop playing up, I've had a rib problem for a while. I could get back on the mats. But, yeah. Oh, I miss it so much. Got the ride. That's how much I miss it.
We miss you there as well. Saturday was phenomenal. It wasn't a lot of people there, but we got into it a few times. There was some heavy bodies moving around those mats, pretty fluid.
Big boy rolling, eh? Yeah. Shout out to all the brothers and sisters down there at Rise, and special mention to our world famous purple belt Taylor.
Yes.
And his lovely wife, Lozzie. And congratulations to them on the birth of their little one, Eddie. Them after me. Doesn't even know it yet. I want to get to see him before this gets released, because he doesn't realise that he named his kid after me.
How so? I don't know that.
That's my middle name.
Is it?
He doesn't know that either, but I'm so blessed that he's done it for me.
Yeah.
He's going to, yeah, that's going to be a good one.
They must have seen on your subscription to the gym or something.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Let's name it after Cuz, yeah?
Doubt it. That's just going to give him extra motivation to just choke me out.
Rumor was, if it was a girl, it was going to be Edwina. So I don't know where that came from, but anyway.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Paulie, thank you very much. Everyone listening, thank you very much for your feedbacks, your comments, the hard times you give us. It's all worthwhile.
Absolutely.
And we're getting there, bro. We're getting there.
Yep, 100%. Really enjoying it, mate. And again, getting some really nice comments and some great feedback as well. So, folks, appreciate your time. Hopefully, it's massively valuable. And let's keep on keeping on. Yeah.
Precisely. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Paulie, for your insights. We will see you all next week. Take care.
Take care, folks. Cheers.
Ciao.